When I was a kid, I was helping my mom bring in groceries. It was at night, so it was dark, and we were walking back and forth from the house to the car. And I was barefoot, and then I just felt a squish underneath my foot. Like I just killed something. It was gooey and like juicy.
Meanwhile, let me pass on the good word about the new
Wonky Times.
richer, fuller.
Wonky Times.
They'll say it's incredible.
Wonky Times.
Well,
Wonky Times.
Woo! Let's make it wonky in here. Let's make it wonky in here.
Let's party. Here we go. Here we go. Let's party. Let's
Dang,
party.
Robo-Brian, you're
Here
pumped
we go.
this week.
Here we go. Let's
Anyways,
party.
thanks for
Here
joining
we
us
go.
for another Wonky Times podcast. Matt Sterner here with my co-host Brian, the robot. Wait, why are you so pumped, Brian?
Well, it's because the world's oldest dog just turned 31 years old. His name is Bobby and he lives in Portugal. The crazy part about it all is that this type of breed only stays around for about 14 years. Bobby has more than doubled that.
Oh, okay. I see Bobby. I'm Googling it right now, actually. Oh, and look at this, Brian. It says that Bobby sleeps a lot now, and he immediately lies down in bed after eating. Wow, Bobby sounds a lot like you, Brian. The last time I gave you that box of nuts and bolts to munch on, I didn't see you for hours.
I don't remember very much from that day.
I'm not surprised.
So, after reading about Bobby, I went down a Guinness World Records rabbit hole and came across another story. It's about a person who lived underwater for 74 days.
Oh, heck no. I would never do something like that. Hey, did you know I'm afraid of water and the ocean especially? I mean, I can't swim.
Yes, I remember. I caught you screaming at the top of your lungs in the bathtub once before.
Yeah, so speaking of scary things, remember a few weeks ago we chatted with Bob and Charles? We talked about like things that scared us now and what scared us as kids.
I am very aware of that episode.
Well, there's a part 2. Shall we get to it, Brian?
Let's party. Here we go. Here we go. Let's party. Let's party.
All right,
Here we
here's
go.
our chat.
Here we go.
I've got a long list of things. Some of them are pretty good, I'd say. Here's one that I was really it messed me up for a good 8 years of my life as a kid. The simple act of going downstairs. But here's why. Now it's not just a solid set of stairs. It's stairs where like if you can go behind it, you know, like basement stairs.
Oh yeah.
Because of the movie Evil Dead. So there's a point in Evil Dead where there's the basement demon,
The
and there's
first
a
one?
part where I think it's the first one. I want to say the first and second one. The second one's like basically a remake of the first one, so it's kind of
Right.
confusing. So there's a part where they know the demon's down there. Ash is going to go downstairs, and like as he's walking down the stairs, she's underneath the stairs, and she pokes her head out and boom, grabs his legs from underneath the stairs. That ruined me. Just that. So like any staircase that was like that, I would be looking underneath there, you know, and I was always like hurrying up them, you know, in fear if someone was going to grab my legs.
Yeah, it's kind of like
act.
in Pet Cemetery, the original. I guess the remake also. Remember, like their kid is down under the stairs and he like cuts the dude's like
Oh,
Achilles.
that's like the
yeah.
worst thing in the world. That's got to be one of the worst. That's the worst. Ugh.
Cutting the what is it, the Achilles
Tendon is like,
Yeah.
and then you just
You're
fall flat,
done.
and it's like done.
Yeah.
No running, no nothing. You better have upper body strength, or you're not getting out of there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bob, I know you're afraid of spiders too.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like necessarily afraid of them. I'm just really, really freaked out. Like, and just they disgust me so bad. Like I'm, like yeah, it's just like if I see a spider, like boom on the table right there. It's not necessarily fear. It's like a shock of if it's the thought of it biting me. Like because they're not scary. They're not big. They're tiny. I'm so much larger than it. You know, I could pummel that sucker.
Have you heard of that theory where like back, you know, millions of years ago or whatever, these spiders were like the size of cars, you know, and so it's ingrained in our like memories from like passed down. That's why everybody's afraid of spiders, because it's in our genes to be afraid of these things because they used to be the size of a truck or whatever.
I believe it. And I bet at that time when they were that size, those were probably the most like awful things to come across on the planet, you know, like
8-legged freaks. Remember that?
like very low survival rate if you come across one of those suckers.
I think the fear of them jumping at me is what gets me. Like
Jumping.
just knowing that they can like just push off of things and just like freaking, and they just go so fast. I'm like, I can't react fast enough to like kill it if I wanted to. You know what I mean?
Are you afraid of Tobey Maguire or what?
Yeah, like, I'm like a slow moving dumb giant, and like it's like oh, this guy's gonna try to slap me, okay, and then just like runs away. You know, you ever seen, I guess, like Ant-Man, where he gets like real big and he can't do anything because he's too big, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I feel. Like I'm stupid compared to the spider. Like the spider's got my number, man. He knows what he's doing.
I'd like to listen to your Devil's, what was it? The Devil's Backbone?
Okay, so Devil Run Road. So this is actually like true stuff. Growing up, like we knew a story about like Devil Run Road, and so when I started like driving, like I wanted to go there. It's like in Chad's Ford. It's not too far away from like where I grew up, and so I drove down there with my friend Andrew one time, and we like drove around the back roads. And so the story goes like there's basically a house, like it looks like a one-room church schoolhouse type situation, and all of the trees grow 90 degrees. They go up about like 8 or 9 feet, and then they all shoot out 90 degrees away from this area because apparently they had like sacrifices there, and there was just so much like evil spirit energy that the trees wanted to get away from it. Like it was like,
wow,
you know, a disaster zone. And there's a couple other stories about that road. One is if you try to go to the house, black SUVs and trucks will like run you off the road and flash their lights at you at night and try to get you away from the space. It's kind of like Area 51 style thing.
Yeah.
But well, it turns out it's like a cult house. Like basically people own this like house, and it's like and they think the trees only grow that way because they were cut a certain way and they were forced to grow out that way. But it is kind of weird and creepy if you were to see it. I never did find the cult house, but on the way there, I did find the road, which they later renamed to Coruscant Road or something like that.
Coruscant. Star Wars.
Yeah. I was thinking that Star Wars.
This was in Pennsylvania, you said?
Yeah, New Republic of Pennsylvania. Yeah, but
look at the Republic,
reference.
Bob.
Sorry,
he's making up a Star Wars story.
I'm making up something. But yeah, there was this tree that grew pretty close to the road, and it was like skull tree. They call, I don't know. It looked like a skull because the way it grew was like roots. And back in the day, there was a baby that was found dead in there, and it was like the baby had like deformities, and they think the person like left it there because it was like, you know, they didn't know what to do with it, and that was their way of like handling it, was throwing it in this tree. But it's kind of also creepy because the tree looks like a skull, and you can see it. And I've seen that tree before. You can just drive by it if you ever in Pennsylvania and you want to see a cool sight. You know, you go see Liberty Bell in this creepy tree. What interests me a lot about that story is because that child was left there. Right around the corner, there's this really beautiful house on a hill, like mansion basically on this hill. And it's owned by the DuPonts. And apparently, historically, it's said that when DuPonts would have children with special needs, they'd hide them away in this house up on this hill. And it's all within like a couple square miles of itself, all these 3 stories. So it's like a really cool like area to like kind of like go around and like see if you're into like spooky stuff or like, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, as a kid, I was like, as soon as I get my license, man, I'm going out there, I'm going to try to find it. And I used to drive around those back roads all the time looking for it. Sometimes on my way home from work, I'd take the back road, see if I can like get run off the road by a black truck or something. But yeah, I wanted to be scared. I wanted to see these things, and like didn't live up to the hype, but still pretty creepy.
If it's real, you were too much of a brave madman, and that spirit's like, nah, he's not a good victim.
Yeah, this guy in the black truck's like, man, I've seen this guy like 15 times now.
Like, this guy scares me.
Yeah.
You know?
This guy scares me. No, this guy's crazy. There's this guy in a Subaru. You gotta stay away from that dude. Yeah, I don't trust that guy.
So another like realistic one that you know a lot of people can relate to. You know, thalassophobia, right? Like fear of the depths of the ocean and stuff like that. You know, the darkness and the unknown.
I love that Reddit page. I'm
on
there all the time. I love that.
When we were little, we got a little bit of thalassophobia after we watched Popeye with Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah.
The giant squid at the end that is like attacking them. Like every pool, any body of water, like that squid was in there after that. So, it was terrifying. And, you know, things like the Kraken and that goes back to classic. That was real back in the day, so that could be along what you were saying, Matt, where it was real and it's now instilled in us in modern.
Yeah, and I'm afraid of water in general because I can't swim, so I don't go in the ocean, or I hang out in pools, but I just kind of stand there,
Right.
So I'm tall enough just to stand in the 5 foot.
Ankle depth.
Yeah, I'm just drinking a beer in the pool. Yeah.
Oh, dude,
jean shorts on.
Once you start getting towards that deep end and the ground starts getting lower and lower and the water starts getting up to your chin, dude, that's fear, man. That's
See, I just end up
scary.
peeing in the pool then because I'm so scared.
You're cold and scared and you just want to be warm and comfortable.
One of the things I'm afraid of is, I've told you guys before, I think, I don't like frogs or toads.
That story's hilarious.
When I was a kid, I was helping my mom bring in groceries. It was at night, so it was dark, and we were walking back and forth from the house to the car, and I was barefoot, and then I just felt a squish underneath my foot. Like I just killed something. It was gooey and like juicy, and I don't know, I just imagined like blood all over my foot, so I dropped the groceries, ran inside, and like cried all night. And the next morning we looked out there and I just stepped on a tomato that fell out of the grocery bag. So it wasn't even a frog, but the fact that I thought it was a frog for like 8-9 hours, it just made me just terrified of frogs.
It's like those 8 hours of just torturing yourself with something that wasn't real, and it instilled a phobia in you. That'll do that to anyone, man. Like I think it was on Ripley's Believe It or Not or some crazy show. It talked about this guy. He was in like a third world country, Asia, I believe, somewhere. And he went to take a whiz and he peed into like a river or a big natural body of water that was there. And as he's peeing, this parasite like went up his stream and it went in and then it sticks itself in there. It has barb, like, so it can go in easy and it cannot come out, and that instilled a lifelong fear of like, I will never never go into a body of water, dude. Just think about that. It should be just like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Like there's things living in there and they'll go right up your stream, dude. It's not a one-way street, dude.
It's not a one-way.
Have you guys ever seen Look Who's Talking from 1989?
Yeah.
I think Bruce Willis does the voice of the kid, and it's John Travolta and Kirstie Alley.
Mm-hmm.
There's this scene where the kid wakes up and he has to go use the bathroom, and when he gets there, the toilet comes to life, and he's Mr. Toilet Man, and he is terrifying. The lid is the top of his mouth. He has spiked teeth coming down. He has these big bushy eyebrows. He talks like, he's like, give me that pee-pee. I want that pee-pee.
Yeah.
And then I was telling people this at work, and they were laughing at me. They're like, dude, that's Mel Brooks. Like Mel Brooks does the voice of that toilet.
Oh, that's
I was like, no way. And I went back and watched, and sure enough, it's Mel Brooks. And like, I was like, why was I ever scared of this? But it was very freaky to see, because that came out in 89. I was born in 89, so I saw it a couple years after. Like, it's one of my earliest memories. And when I started to use the toilet on my own, I would like be looking backwards, like to see like if he was gonna come alive and just bite me, dude, swallow me.
I wonder if that's why when I was a kid, I was afraid to pee like standing up when I was like 4 or 5. I had this weird thing about it. I wanted to sit, and my parents were like, "No, you gotta stand up." Maybe I thought the lid was
your
gonna.
Parents made you stand up.
Yeah, and every time I did, they would give me a star on this little piece of paper.
Wow. There's nothing wrong with sitting and peeing, I say. It's less messy.
I went to a sleepover where we watched the movie Anaconda, and I had the same fear of like toilets. And I was like, I don't know why I thought an anaconda was going to fit through my toilet and like bite me. Like,
well, that's a real thing.
Yeah, Bob, we don't need to know about it being real, though. It can just be a movie, It doesn't have to be real. We can just pretend it's continuously not real, which is how I go to sleep every day and wake up, It's not real, man.
So, Matt, what was your fear? Like standing up, like the toilet seat was going to clamp down on you or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I thought people were watching, but maybe it was the toilet seat. Like now that you bring up Look Who's Talking, maybe I just thought it was going to chomp down on it,
Yeah, Charles, you got to look up that scene, man.
I just like, in my mind, like the fear is like, the toilet seat's going to close and like, I'm just going to pee a little bit somewhere else, Whoops.
Yeah.
In my mind, but like as a kid, you're like, well, I can't like have that, But like, I'm sure it's like, you're probably the height of the toilet seat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's so much Jim Henson creatures that they've created over the years that freaked me out. Stuff from Labyrinth.
Oh yeah.
The Skeksis from Dark Crystal really messed me up as a kid. Stuff from the storytellers like the Griffin or the Devils from the episode The Soldier in Death, or the Greek myths that they did, Perseus, Medusa. Like those were just Jim Henson creations are so like visually striking, and they're real. There's no CGI. That is practical. That's real stuff. And you know, like I said, when we were younger, our imaginations like just took those and just made them tenfold, like more realistic and scary.
You know what scared me the most about the Labyrinth was David Bowie's moose knuckle that we have to stare at.
Woo, that was fun, right?
I'm sure glad you didn't really step on that poor little frog. Oh, the horror.
Yeah, and you know, I'm still afraid of frogs too. It's crazy. So I want to end this episode with a very strange and wonky voicemail that a listener sent us just a few days ago. Well, actually, you know, the listener got the strange voicemail. They just shared it with us. So that person doesn't want to be named, but you know, for their own safety. But here, take a listen.
Go indoors and remain there until further notice. Do not go outside and do not evacuate the area. Close and lock all doors and windows. Close all blinds and curtains. Stay away from windows and, if possible, move to the basement. Do not let anyone into your home or business and call 911 if there is somebody on your property who you do not know. Monitor local and social media for additional information. Take shelter now. It is 12:20 a.m. There is a threat to your safety. If you are indoors, remain there. If you are outdoors, go indoors and remain there until further notice. Do not go outside and do not evacuate the area. Close and lock all...
Yeah, you know, it sort of just keeps repeating itself like that. It's pretty wonky, right?
Yes, I wonder what it means. Definitely very, very wonky.
Beats me, beats you, beats everyone. I don't know. What do you know? But whoever's listening, leave us a voicemail because it's likely we'll play it on the next episode. That phone number is 520-477-1942. Give us a ring-a-ling. Give us a ring-a-ling, you ding-a-lings.
Plus, if you have seen anything strange, we would love to hear about it. Email us at getwonky@wonkytimes.com for a chance to be featured in an upcoming episode of the Wonky Times podcast.
And here to take us out is a special message from Wonky Pet Portraits. Later.
Please be excellent to each other.
When Polly came into my life, I had no idea how much I needed the level of companionship that a dog provides. She lights up my life. And now, thanks to Matt Sterner and Wonky Pet Portraits, I have this incredible painting of her that celebrates the fun, cool, confident gal that she is. Everyone should have a chance to see their pet through Matt's eyes.
So what are you waiting for? Head over to wonkypetportraits.com to turn your pet companion into a real work of art.